Hey everyone. So, I originally wasn't going to talk about this, but I figured I've sat on it for a few days and decided to kind of make a video on this. So last week I made a video about not pivoting too often, which basically the nature of the video was if you're going through this process, have a big vision for yourself, have the big vision, and commit yourself to that plan. So if that's your plan A, if it's say traditional publishing, for example, commit yourself to that and exhaust as much energy as you can trying to go that direction. Not and basically don't make adjustments every single time you run into an obstacle was basically the thing, right? Stay committed to plan A. Don't just change your overall goals and objectives every time you run into an obstacle was basically what the gist of what I was trying to say. And perhaps I wasn't as succinct and as clear about that in my video as perhaps I would have liked. But so anyways, buddy of mine messaged me and basically had said something to the effect of my suggestion about the pivoting thing was actually incorrect. That the reason why perhaps I'm in the situation I'm in right now, right, where I don't necessarily have a book out yet, where I don't have a large channel. I have a very kind of small YouTube channel with kind of a limited amount of following, etc. Right? I don't have a lot of success, and basically his argument was in kind of his own way of saying, "Hey, the reason why you're where you're at is because you commit too long to things that aren't working out. That you spend too much time on projects that aren't going to pay off rather than cutting your losses early and moving on to the next thing." So, this video is kind of going to be a short response to that. And yes, in many things in life, you should cut your losses early. There's a very famous Seth Godin book, I can't remember the name of it, but I think it's called The Power of Quitting or something like that. But basically, the argument is that like 95% of the things you do in life, you should just quit early. You should just give up early on it, right? If it holds no interest to you, and then the 5% of things that you enjoy in life, things that you love to do, you should stick in for the long haul because eventually there'll be a payoff. So, yes, in most things in life, you should definitely quit early or make adjustments quickly. But on the bigger things, the things that matter, the things that you really care about, you cannot change your overall game plan just to reflect a loss. You can't be sacrificing the big picture plan every time you encounter some sort of obstacle, some sort of challenge there, right? You've got to stick to the main objective, even if you are wasting your time, even if you think you're wasting time, even if maybe it turns out maybe that you were, right? I believe you have to stick to that game plan. You have to go with it until the plan itself holds no value. Not because you've taken all these losses or all these obstacles, but simply your interest in it has gone away. And at that point, yes, stop. But the things that matter, the big picture things, you've got to exhaust all your resources. You have to keep pushing through all your resources. I'll go back to that example of my book, right? Remember I mentioned, obviously, in the past video and those that follow on the vlog, I had, again, a tentative deal with a publisher, what is it now, like last year. So that only happened because that was my last avenue. Like, in the sense that I had submitted basically to several agents. Basically none ended up ever working out. Even the one that I'd actually had a pretty good kind of back and forth with, whatever, never worked out, right? I submitted to a bunch of kind of smaller indie presses, right? And the very last one happened to be the one that I got that tentative offer with, and it didn't work out. But if I had stopped at the beginning, right? If I had gotten my first 15 query rejections, right, and said, all right, I'm done with this book, I'm going to move on to the next one, right? Which you should have multiple, you shouldn't just wait to, while you're doing the query process, you should not just wait. But if I had put my book aside and never done anything more with it and said, all right, it's a loss, what have you, and done something more, I never would have gotten at least that tentative offer. I wouldn't have gotten a little bit further along in the process that I did. I would have just been someone who said, all right, the whole thing's a failure, and moved on too early. I think in this process you can quit way too early more often than you can waste your time pursuing something that has no payout. I really do. I think that too many of us stop early when we should have pushed a little bit harder and a little bit faster, and maybe sorry, that's kind of a weird way of saying it, but we should have pushed a little bit harder, maybe done things a little bit quicker, like got the projects done a little bit quicker, and should have used a bit more of our resources, right? Maybe we should have gotten out of our comfort zone a bit more, maybe done things that are a little bit more taboo, maybe done things to maybe get us a little bit closer to that goal that we wouldn't have considered the first time. I think too many of us quit early and pivot and make adjustments, and we scale back our expectations, what we want to do, rather than exhausting all our resources and then looking back on it and saying, well, that was kind of a waste, but I did everything I could. I can't say I didn't try, put everything into it. And that for me is what matters, is the idea of putting everything I have into something and then looking back on it with no regrets of what could have maybe happened, rather than saying, yeah, I wasted all my time doing this thing, but it's okay, it was worth it in the end.